Not to mention the fact that with so few people present, this wasn't even a war. Hardly had her voice faded away when a stream of holy and pure energy slowly flowed out of her. Her golden hair danced around as her manner became more and more imposing. Instantly, her energy had reached the peak of the titled rank. Then, without any signs of stopping, her energy reached the legendary rank. She had revealed her true power at this moment. The steam of golden energy was surging out from her and from under her feet. She was wrapped out in a holy glow. Appalled by the sudden change of the girl, the others standing around could not help but back up further. Although Venerable the Blade had been better prepared mentally, he was still feeling the suffocating sense. It was as if a towering mountain was coming down on him, trying to push him to the ground. He had never been so stressed out, not even when he was with Yuan Tianchen. Tang Ruyan was panic-stricken. She had stayed in the store long enough to tell that Joanna was a special and powerful person. But she never knew that Joanna was able to reach such a terrifying state. Feeling Joanna's imposing manner, Tang Ruyan almost collapsed to the ground. On her side, Yan Binjiu had a dull look in her eyes and her brain had stopped working. Whoosh! A glaring beam of golden light was gathered in Joanna's hand, which then took the shape of a long spear, a spear with divine energy. As the spear came into being, a stream of energy that no one had experienced before was spread out. Joanna raised her head and gazed at the dark feather phoenix and the flock of thunder sparrows with her crystal-clear eyes. Destroy them! She made up her mind. The strong force that spurted out from her pushed away the people close to her. Only Suiping remained unaffected because he was under the protection of the store. Not even Venerable the Blade and Xieganj had been able to resist the burst of power that Joanna had exerted. They were unable to remain standing, the sudden energy wave she produced had smashed them to the sides. Joanna bent her knees and then she flew up to the sky. She was like a beam of golden light that was shedding light into a world shrouded in dark shades. The ground trembled when she kicked to propel herself upward. The staircase by the door of Suiping's pet store remained intact. However, there was a long and meandering crack on the street outside the safety zone of the store's territory. It looked as if the store were a separate part of the street. Her kick had broken the ground. It was hard to imagine how fast and forceful she was. Joanna didn't resort to the skill that those at the legendary rank were most proficient at. She chose to face her opponents head-on. Even though she didn't use teleportation skills, she was moving just as fast. The dark feather phoenix had a bloody cut in its neck, one that dug deep until it reached the bones. The little skeleton had almost beheaded the dark feather phoenix. However, the dark feather phoenix had mastered special defensive skills which had weakened the impact of the cut. That was how the beast had managed to stay alive. Still, it was already rare for a dark feather phoenix to sustain a wound so serious. Surprise and anger seized the dark feather phoenix. Before it could react, the dark feather phoenix had sensed a stream of energy whooshing up. A beam of golden light rose into view. Bang! The beam of golden light reached the dark feather phoenix's chin and then penetrated its entire head. Blood drenched the dark feather phoenix. The brains and blood from its head were all squeezed out. A shot to the head. This was beyond comprehension. The baffled look was still visible in the dark feather phoenix's eyes. In the meantime, the loud noise of the blast had finally reached its ears. Instant defeat. The dark feather phoenix was unwilling to accept its fate. However, a grayish color had begun to spread across its eyes with its wings hanging down. The formerly ruffled feathers began to recede. The towering dark feather phoenix gradually fell, head down, on its way to crashing over the street and the nearby buildings. Given the sheer size of the dark feather phoenix and the height from which it was falling, its crash could very well cause an earthquake that would damage all the buildings on the street. Suiping was standing by the door. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes. He mobilized all of his astral powers and directed them to the star prism. A power that was more awe-inspiring than ever before burst out from him. That was a power that could match the upper position of the titled rank. He was still at the intermediate position of the 6th rank. However, having spent a long time in the demigod burial, his astral powers had been refined and enhanced to a level equal to the upper position of the 7th rank. The star prism increased that by 2 ranks to emulate the upper position of the 9th rank. Of course, this increase was merely temporary. The powers would be burnt out in an instant. Venerable the Blade and Xiaganj gazed at Suoping in shock. The family elders, Tang Ruyan and Yan Binjia, were wearing frightened expressions. Suoping was a young man of about 20 years of age. He had been proven to be able to defeat titled battle pet warriors, but they all saw it as him having a strength that didn't match his rank. But at this moment, they were feeling authentic astral powers of the upper position of the titled rank. Is this the truth about Suoping? While they had yet to recover from their astonishment, Suoping shouted all of a sudden as he flew up. He had used the strength enhancement in the demigod burial to double his physical strength comprehensively. A golden hue surrounded his arm. That was a result of divine energy. Fist of Exorcist. Divinity enhancement. Boom! It was as if a nuclear bomb had been detonated above everyone's heads. The moment the noise of the blast came through, everyone felt they had gone deaf for a moment. The ripples in the air carried the noise across the street. The shades and clouds up in the air were dispersed. Light shone through. The dark feather phoenix that was on its way to crash into the street was suddenly torn into pieces. The remains were scattered around on the street, making many pits on the ground. The pieces of flesh that landed on the store bounced back instead of crushing the building. For the time being, the street was in a mess, covered with blood and remains. A heavy downpour of blood started again. Some of the buildings that weren't part of Suoping's store did suffer and some collapsed under the rain of remains. That being said, the situation was much better, considering the alternative scenario, with the entire dark feather phoenix falling in one piece. The remains and the blood stunned Xiaganj and Venerable the Blade into speechlessness. Suoping had smashed a dark feather phoenix at the peak of the 9th rank into pieces with one punch. What kind of strength was that? The family elders were frozen on the spot. The 2 elders of the Liu family in particular had a dull look in their eyes. They even forgot to use the astral shield to stop the rain of blood from falling over them. Tang Ruyan and Yan Binjia were dumbfounded. A monster! The young man who was standing in the air was a human-shaped monster. Suoping was trying to find his breath. He had drained his energy. Suoping breathed in relief as he stared at the scattered remains on the ground. The fact that he could achieve this result with one punch was mostly because the dark feather phoenix had died. Energy had ceased to move around in the dead dark feather phoenix. As a result, the beast was no longer able to use any defensive skills. It wasn't strange for Suoping to be able to smash it with one punch. Suoping looked up and saw Joanna. She was imbued in the golden hue with the spear in her hand. She was an invincible war goddess. Standing in front of her was an old man who appeared to be transfixed. That was the person who had been standing on the back of the dark feather phoenix. The divine energy that was about to drift away from the spear converged once more. A myriad of reflections. Whoosh! A strong aura suddenly burst out, and the blazing golden light blossomed on the spear, illuminating the entire world. A golden light suddenly surged out of the clear sky above, like an inverted golden sea. From this golden sea emanated an unspeakable power that could overpower all beings. As every member of the Tang family was staring at this in a fit of terror, reflections of golden spears slowly permeated out of the golden sea. In the blink of an eye, thousands of ghost spear shadows appeared. The Tang family elder recovered from his astonishment and then descended into trepidation. He felt a sense of death from the golden sea. That was not something that a titled battle pet warrior could have summoned. This girl. Was she at the legendary rank? While the Tang family elder was still wondering, Joanna had resorted to action. Kill them! She waved her golden spear and pointed it forward. In the direction the spear was pointed to, a murderous aura that could silence earth and heaven alike instantly enveloped the 1,000 thunder sparrows, as well as the Feather Army and the Tactic Army behind the Tang family elder. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The spears that protruded from the golden sea were launched abruptly toward the flock of thunder sparrows. The countless spear reflections were moving as fast as lightning, carrying a force that could destroy everything. Bang! 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 In the air, the thunder sparrows were alarmed and bewildered. Soon, some thunder sparrows were struck. The forceful impact blasted the thunder sparrows open, reducing them into a mist of blood. The battle pet warriors on the back of the thunder sparrows were too slow to react, and the reflections of the spears pierced through the battle pet warriors as well. Others with faster reactions immediately summoned other battle pets. In the air, thousands of swirls appeared, and from them crawled out many ferocious and violent battle pets that were howling and growling. However, as soon as those battle pets came out, they had been struck by the golden spears. They died before they could even have a look around. There were some 9th rank battle pets among them, but even those had been unable to survive the strike. Those were reflections of the golden spear Joanna held in her hand. Even though they were just reflections that had 1/100th of the original golden spear's power, they weren't something that the average 9th rank battle pet warriors could withstand. Bang, 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 bang. Blood poured down as miserable cries lingered. The sky was tainted in blood. A small number of severed limbs managed to reach the ground. Most of the thunder sparrows were reduced into a mist of blood by the spear reflections. Nothing was left of the thunder sparrows. That was a formidable scene. This girl who was bathing in the golden hue had to be a war goddess. With arrogance, the girl made it clear with her look that she considered everyone and everything beneath her notice. The 3 Tang family elders, as well as the others standing by Su Ping's store, were too shocked to utter a sound. She created a doomsday vision with a single move. Was that the power of a legendary battle pet warrior? Not even a legendary battle pet warrior could have done that easily. The 2 people from the Star organization who came with Xieganj were so shocked that they were forgetting themselves. So, she was the store's secret. Luckily, the Star organization had been prudent. If they had sent over an army in an impulse, they would too have a similar fate. A legendary battle pet warrior was living in the store. That was beyond reason and logic. What a stunning piece of news! No. God, no. The toothless old lady standing on a 9th rank battle pet watched as the reflections of the golden spear penetrated the flock of thunder sparrows, and how they turned into a mist of blood. She was more terrified than shocked. Behind her, 8 swirls came out abruptly. Roar! Roar! First, the shouts came out. Those were all 9th rank battle pets, only one was at the upper position. The other 7 were all at the peak of the 9th rank. At the command of the toothless old lady, those battle pets immediately dashed toward the thunder sparrows, trying to protect them from the golden spear reflections. Joanna didn't seem to be happy when she saw that. Several golden spear reflections came out from the golden sea, which were of a larger size. Whoosh! 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 The thicker spears were launched. Like bolts of lightning, the spears struck their targets. Roar! A thunder basilisk at the peak of the 9th rank cried in misery as a golden spear pierced and went through it. When looking from the outside, people could see a faint translucence from the golden spear within. It was as if the thunder basilisk had swallowed a light bulb so bright that not even its body was able to stop the light from oozing out. The toothless old lady stood aghast. She could tell how afraid her thunder basilisk was from their mind connection. No. Bang! The thunder basilisk was unable to continue the cry for long. The beast was about to turn around and ask the toothless old lady for help, but there was no time. The thunder basilisk exploded. A dragon at the peak of the 9th rank had died. It was raining blood. A hush fell over the street. None of those present could find their voices. After the death of the thunder basilisk, the other peak 9th rank pets that had violently emerged were also unable to survive the strikes. They tried many defensive skills, but nothing was enough to protect them. Under such formidable strikes, those mighty battle pets were just as vulnerable as the thunder sparrows. Everything happened within an instant. After all, Joanna didn't have to use a long time to prepare such an attack. For her, this wasn't a grand skill. It started fast and ended quickly. A few seconds later, no more golden spear reflections came out from the golden sea. The sky was drenched with blood. Nothing else was moving. The clusters of blood mist gradually converged into a cloud of blood that lingered in the sky. The 8 battle pet warriors became part of the blood cloud. None of them escaped. There was no sound, whether in the sky or on the ground. The only thing making small noises was the continuous pitter-patter of blood raindrops. This was the only thing that was unaware of the tragedy. In the dead silence, the golden glow on the spear in Joanna's hand slowly died down as the spear turned into a puff of golden light that vanished into her delicate hand. The usual indifference came back into her eyes, as if she had merely done something trivial. She looked at the only 3 surviving elders and said, "You, humble human beings. Take back your battle pets and kneel before me." As a pure-blood god, even true gods that were equal to the legendary battle pet warriors would have to kneel to pay respects to her, not to mention those mortal human beings that weren't even at the legendary rank. In an average base city, even the death of 10 master battle pet warriors would have caused a great sensation, not to mention the death of 2,000. In the past decade, the Tang family had been on expeditions, but the casualties had not been as heavy as this day. Besides, the death dealing had been too swift. So quickly that they didn't have enough time to stop it. To be exact, they couldn't even stop it. Of the 3 Tang family elders, the toothless old lady was the one who had been stunned the most. Her lips trembled and she was feeling a leakage of air from her mouth. All of her battle pets had been killed just then. All of them. The only one battle pet she had left was the bird she was standing on. The bird carried her so it didn't go and help the thunder sparrows. That was the only reason why the bird had managed to stay alive. Desperation, fear, pain, and dread. Those negative feelings filled the old lady's mind. Those were the feelings that her battle pets told her about before their deaths. The old lady shook even more violently after hearing the girl's indifferent voice. She looked at the girl and a breathtakingly beautiful face appeared before her eyes. The girl was flawless. As a female herself, the old lady felt she would have never been able to pick a flaw in the girl's look, which was practically a piece of art. But the girl didn't seem to be from the subcontinent district. Was she a legendary battle pet warrior from another continent? The rain of blood continued and tainted both the sky and the ground. Some puddles of blood were gathering in the pits on the ground. The pungent smell of blood filled the air, making everyone feel like vomiting. Some of the more squeamish reporters outside had passed out on the spot. Others wetted their pants when they saw the remains and pieces of flesh landing in front of them. Only a few with stronger minds could still stand there, but their trembling legs gave them away. A moment before, the sun was shining gaily on the street. Right then, the street had turned into hell. There was no end to the bloodshed and the ground was covered with remains and bones. What a tragic scene! Even Xieganj, Venerable the Blade, and the family elders who had endured many vicissitudes in their lives were appalled speechless by this hellish view. Sui Ping had punched the dark feather phoenix into pieces. That mysterious girl then wiped away an entire army with one move. The Tang family had arrived with a swaggering step and only had 3 surviving members at this moment. The 3 old guys were more powerful than the deceased Tang family battle pet warriors, but anyone with a sane mind was able to tell how terrified the 3 of them were. One more straw would break their backs. This girl is a legendary battle pet warrior. Xieganj stood in a daze. Even he could hardly see a legendary battle pet warrior in action. He had witnessed legendary battle pet warriors' battles before. Indeed, they were powerful, but nothing he saw could compare to what happened this day. 2008th rank battle pet warriors had passed away, just like this. They didn't even have a chance to use their battle pets and their skills. They didn't have a single chance to show their strength or to fight for their lives. They were crushed into pieces after being overwhelmed by the strong power, just like any other men on the street. Venerable the Blade stared in mute astonishment. Last time, when Joanna almost killed Yuan Tianchen, Venerable the Blade had thought the shock had been great enough. This day, although he was mentally prepared, he still found the results hard to accept. He returned to his senses earlier than the others, but he was at a loss for a moment. He could not find any word. He clenched his fists. He was more eager to make the final breakthrough than ever before. If he could make that breakthrough, he would become a legendary battle pet warrior as well. The number of titled battle pet warriors was small. But the legendary battle pet warriors were the ones that stood at the top. Feather Army, out of sorts, Tang Ruyan was shaking. She was so weak in her legs that she almost fell to the ground. The famous Feather Army of the Tang family, an army that the other ancient families were dreadful of, simply disappeared. There were merely 5 feather armies in total and 1 army was gone, just like that. Joanna merely used 1 skill. She didn't even use her spear in a real sense. She just lifted it. Tang Ruyan never knew that the girl that was also working in the store could be so terrifying. She remembered how Suoping would treat Joanna. Tang Ruyan was all the more confused. Standing next to her, Yan Binjia was so shocked that her eyes stared woodenly and her jaw hung. Finally, she understood why Xieganj would treat Suoping like that. It turned out that a legendary battle pet warrior was in the store. A legendary battle pet warrior. Of the entire subcontinent, she merely knew the existence of 2 legendary battle pet warriors. This day, she managed to see the third one. The legendary battle pet warriors were the ones that stood at the top of the world. They were the ones that could battle beast kings. They were extraordinary existences. After being dazed for a long while, Yang Binjio came back to her senses, only to become more frustrated than ever. She had been taken by a force like this. The organization was willing to get her back merely for the sake of the organization's dignity. She would never be of value to the organization in the future. There was no telling if the organization would be willing to turn hostile against Suoping because of her. The organization might have to pay a huge ransom to get her back. Everyone was thinking about different things. High in the air, the 3 elders of the Tang family were standing together. They could still feel the huge pressure coming from Joanna. They looked at each other and their faces were clouded. One wrong step and they could all lose their lives right there. They had thought that the 3 of them coming together was more than enough to deal with any possible secret force hiding in the store. It was just that they had never expected that the secluded force was a legendary battle pet warrior. It would be pointless even if more of them had joined them. Joanna waited for half a minute. She was unhappy since the 3 of them had shown no reaction. Impatiently, she said, "Do you refuse to kneel before me? So, you wish for death, right?" The old lady turned pale. She was the one who was the most scared of the girl. After all, she had lost all of her battle pets and they didn't stand a single chance. As of that moment, upholding the Tang family's dignity no longer mattered when her life was at risk, especially when she was standing in front of a legendary battle pet warrior. Now, the old lady passed a mental message to the 2 other elders. In the meantime, she took the lead and dropped to her knees. She knelt in the air. The other 2 elders flanking her looked awful. They eventually made up their minds and got down on their knees. Disobeying a legendary battle pet warrior was simply out of the question. Joanna snorted. She didn't even want to waste another glance at them. She didn't care about their kneeling or whether they would lose face. She merely needed a gesture from them, a gesture that told her that they had surrendered and they would no longer fight back. As such, she could leave the rest of the matter to Suoping. It would then count as her accomplishing the task of protecting the store. She turned around and flew to Suoping. "They are all yours. Tell me if you need me again." "Sure." Suoping nodded. He didn't expect that Joanna was able to resort to such formidable means. He had thought there would be a fierce fight. Who could have known that 1 skill would be enough to crush them all? No wonder she was a god at the legendary rank. Besides, Suaping could tell that she had held back. After Joanna left, Suaping flew to where the three Tang family elders were. He was not afraid of any possible surprise attacks since he was under the protection of the store. Tang family, right? Suaping asked. The old lady could tell that the horrifying girl had left. She breathed in relief. She felt stifled when that girl was present, but she was less stressed out with Suaping. She was about to stand up when Suaping snorted at her. Who told you that you could stand up? The old lady's face grew somber. Are you the owner of the Pixie Pet Store? That is correct. Suaping continued coldly, are you here for your future family head? The three Tang family elders were stunned to hear Suaping's answer. If he was the boss of the store, then who was that horrifying girl? They couldn't figure it out, and they weren't in the mood to dig further. Either way, the girl was on Suaping's side and she protected the store. That was all they needed to know. One legendary battle pet warrior in the store was enough to make the Tang family surrender and compromise. We are just wandering around. The old man kneeling in the middle produced a forced smile. He was the master of that dark feather phoenix, the second elder of the Tang family, Tang Mingqing. Wandering around? What a special way of wandering around! Suaping sneered. I'm not in the mood to waste time with you. You want your future family to head back? That can happen. After all, I don't want to have a useless bucket in my store. Make me an offer. I can give her back to you if I am happy with that offer. The three were unable to believe this. They could not believe that Suaping would regard their future family head as a bargaining chip. How rude and arrogant of him! At the thought of the girl at the legendary rank, the three understood that Suaping indeed had the right to be arrogant. When someone offended the Tang family, they would usually try their best to reconcile with them. No one would use their future family head to strike a deal. Evidently, Suaping was not afraid of any possible retaliation. The fact was he had every right to be like that. As long as the legendary girl was still there, the Tang family would never try to seek revenge. One day, they would return for vengeance when the store and the legendary girl were gone. But they would never act rashly when such a girl was with him in the store. Of course, when the day came for the store to be about to perish, the Tang family might not be the only force that would want to retaliate. An offer, the three Tang family elders looked at each other. They never considered what kind of price they had to pay or that they would have to regard their future family head as merchandise. A moment of hesitation later, Tang Mingqing asked, do you want money or treasures? What kind of treasures? Enlighten me, Suaping answered. Tang Mingqing replied after some thoughts. We have two top-level treasures. One is the kaleidoscope and the other one is the Heart Slayer. The former is a hidden weapon that can even help an advanced battle pet warrior assassinate a titled battle pet warrior. The second one is indestructible and can cut open the best battle pet of the stone family. So. Suaping eyed him with a meaningful look. Your future family head has been staying with me for a long time and she has told me everything. Are you trying to fool me? She has already told me what you have in the Tang family. Do not waste the chances I give you. Tang Mingqing pulled a long face and so did the other two. A glint of anger rose in their eyes as they secretly darted a look at Tang Ruin who was standing by the door. What do you mean? Tang Mingqing asked. I know about your family heirloom. What about trading your future family head for your family heirloom? Suaping asked. The three of them were taken aback. The family heirloom? No way. No. I mean, we cannot do that. Tang Mingqing rejected at once, but at the thought of the current situation, he adopted a softer tone. The family heirloom is the thing which protects the good fortune of the family, and the future family head is a person who serves the family. If we have to use the family heirloom to get the future family head back, I believe she would rather sacrifice herself. I hope you can ask for something else. Suaping knew that they wouldn't agree. He made another proposal casually, one future family head is not enough. Then how about counting the three of you as part of the trade? What? The three family heads were at first boggled by what they heard. Indeed, Suo Ping was the one controlling their lives as of that moment. After all, if the legendary girl decided to kill them, none of them could escape. That, Tang Mingqing's expression changed. Finally, he understood why the young man had spared them. He was also planning to use them as bargaining chips. Well, I have to ask our family head. I'm not sure what he'll think about this. Tang Mingqing filed his teeth. The other two elders looked at him with complicated feelings. The three of us are too old to be of any value to the family. We have devoted years of our lives to the family and our deaths would not be regretted. The family head would definitely not trade us with the family heirloom. The old lady suddenly lowered her head and her eyes reddened. But she sounded resolute. Tang Mingqing and the other old men were dazed for a second, but they understood what she was implying. She was telling them that they would rather fight to the death than harm the family. When used well, the family heirloom could be used to kill a legendary battle pet warrior. Anyone could be sacrificed, be it them or the future family head, or even the current family head. But the family heirloom could not leave the family. The old lady had more integrity than the other two old men. She was ready to give her life away. Feeling how determined the old lady was, Tang Mingqing took a deep breath. She's right. I hope you can choose another item. We know that it's impossible to escape our doom. But we have lived long enough. To make one last contribution to the family means we can give ourselves entirely to the family in the end. Suo Ping raised his eyebrows. Hey, those Tang family elders are indeed adhering to moral principles. So, they got bored of living, hey? Suo Ping sneered. If that were the truth, they wouldn't have gotten down on their knees. It was just that the family heirloom was out of reach. It wasn't likely that he could get that using those people as the bargaining chip. Such being the case, he had to choose something else. Come with me now, Suo Ping said. He had to think about what to ask for. Standing there would get too much attention and it didn't look good. The three of them were surprised that Suo Ping didn't throw a tantrum. They heaved a sigh of relief, stood up, and followed Suo Ping back to the store. The three of them gazed at his back, hesitating, but eventually held back the urge to strike him. The young man was hard to understand. They couldn't take the risk. The legendary girl was in the store. They knew very little about the legendary rank and had no idea what legendary battle pet warriors could do. But they did know about teleporting, which was a basic skill for all legendary battle pet warriors. The three weren't sure that their assassination would work when a legendary battle pet warrior was present. Suo Ping flew to the store and the three Tang family elders followed him to the door. The rain of blood continued. Suo Ping took a look. Once again, he gathered his astral powers and punched the air. Boom! Accompanied by the noise, a surge of violent power burst out. The cloud of blood in the sky was dispersed. One punch and the cloud disappeared. The street once again was blessed with light. The rain of blood vanished. But on the ground, blood was still flowing into the drainage and the remains were still on the ground. As sunlight broke through, Suo Ping's mood also turned brighter as well. He turned around and went into the store. Joanna followed him inside and then went back to the pet room and closed the door. The matter was resolved as far as she was concerned. She was no longer needed here. If so, she was not willing to stay in the same room with those people. Suo Ping was the only one she deemed to be better than the average human being. The others were all puny insects to her. Everyone was relieved to see that Joanna was away. The suffocating pressure disappeared, they felt they could breathe again. And you are, right then, the three Tang family elders noticed Venerable the Blade and Xieganj standing by the door. They had sensed the presence of two people who had been hiding their strength, but they didn't know it was Venerable the Blade and the King of Arms. Xieganj was from the Star Organization. Venerable the Blade was working for Yuan Tianchen. Both the Star Organization and Yuan Tianchen were forces that were above the Tang family. That might not be exact, but at the very least the Tang family would not want to offend the Star Organization or Yuan Tianchen and vice versa. After all, confronting the tough with toughness would only end up hurting both parties. Was there any connection between the Star Organization and the store? The Tang family elders became more terrified than before for a moment. If they had known that the mysterious presences were Venerable the Blade and Xieganj, they wouldn't have resorted to violence so directly, they would have negotiated with the store owner first. "I'm doing some shopping here." Venerable the Blade produced a forced smile. By answering in such a way, he was making sure that people wouldn't have the wrong impression, that there was something between Yuan Tianchen and Suoping's store. After all, Yuan Tianchen and Suoping were at odds. If rumors that they were allies spread out, that would be funny. Xieganj copied Venerable the Blade's answer. "Same here. I came to do some shopping." Xieganj laughed awkwardly. The three Tang family elders found no words. There were some words hidden inside them that they really wanted to use. But they managed to hold back that urge. What a coincidence! Tang Mingqing forced a smile but only said those three words. He stepped into the store. The priority at the time was to deal with Suoping. As for Xieganj and Venerable the Blade, he wasn't even in the mood to chit-chat with them. The old lady and the other old man darted a cold glance at Tang Ruyan, who was standing behind the titled Battle Pet Warriors. Tang Ruyan came back to her senses and turned pale. She had deciphered some underlying meaning from the two elders' eyes. She would be held accountable for the loss of the Feather Army and the Tactic Army. But that was not fair. Of course, she had lost her chance to ask for justice. The three were all family elders who enjoyed a higher status than hers. She was, after all, just a front. They wouldn't have transferred their anger to the real future family head. She was frustrated. The three Tang family elders had arrived with such an imposing manner, but they ended up following Suoping obediently. The other family elders looked at each other. The world was changing. Since a legendary battle pet warrior was residing in the store, the entire Longjiang base city would have to treat Suoping with respect, even if he didn't ask for it. The two elders from the Lu family were the most frightened of all. They seemed to be considering something on their minds. The Tang family elders walked into the store. Venerable the Blade and Xieganj went back in as well, then the other family elders went in after them. At the very back were Tang Ruyan and Yan Binjiu. Yan Binjiu heaved a sigh. Tang Ruyan was down-spirited. The former could identify with the latter. Yan Binjiu patted her shoulder and gave her an encouraging look. Tang Ruyan replied to her encouragement with a smile, but that was merely a skin-deep smile. Inside the store, Suoping sat on the couch with the three Tang family elders standing in a line before him. He didn't mention that they could sit down when he told the three about the demands he had posed to Xieganj. The same three demands. Searching for materials for him, offering any three items from their collection of treasures, and the ability to borrow some forces of the Tang family to work for him when the needs arose. The three Tang family elders appeared to be reluctant. They tried to make a counter-offer, but Suoping cut them off directly and just demanded a yes or no from them. Given the pressure, after a moment of hesitation, Tang Mingqing had to say yes. Then Suoping once again explained the ransom he demanded. Same as before, the Tang family had to get their future family back by trading with items of equal value. As a matter of fact, Suoping didn't care for what resources the Tang family had. He cared about the materials he needed and was somewhat interested in the treasures. He couldn't think of anything else that he needed. 5 treasures for the future family head, and I will make the pick. 2 for each of the 3 of you. Consider that a discount. 11 pieces in total. How about that? Suoping asked the 3. Tang Mingqing was surprised. The 3 of them darted a look at Tang Ruyan, hesitating. If she were the real future family head, they would have been willing to get her back with 5 pieces of treasure. But she was merely a front. What was the function of a front? To conceal and protect. Today was the right time for the front to be shattered to protect its master. Tang Mingqing exchanged eye contact with the other two elders and reached an agreement. He asked Su Ping with a fawning smile, "Well, we could agree, but just for the three of us. Will that be okay?" Su Ping remained surprised for a moment. So were Xieganj, Venerable the Blade, and the other major families. Up until then, they all believed that the Tang family had gone there and made such a splash for the sake of getting their future family head back. Su Ping was willing to negotiate with them, and he wasn't asking for an excessively high price. Why would they only be concerned about their own lives? Were they giving up on their future family head? The future family head. The cornerstone of the family. The elders of the 5 major families could only stare speechlessly at the other. Giving up on their future family head. What was that about? So, was one of the 4 ancient families of the subcontinent district supposed to be so out of the ordinary? Venerable the Blade and Xieganj were aware of some of the Tang family's secrets. They had formulated a theory. They felt sorry for the girl, seeing how she had turned pale. She was just a pretty front. Tang Ruyan was trembling. The 3 elders had taken away the last glint of hope from her. They banished her heart to the abyss and the coldness was biting her bones. Finally, the day for me to be broken has come. She lowered her head and bit her lips. Blood and tears ran into her mouth together. She remembered the girl that looked just like her. Her younger sister. Her biological younger sister. The actual future family head of the Tang family. Truth be told, she had indeed been groomed to be the future family head of the Tang family, before the birth of her young sister, that is. Once her sister was brought to this world, her life was turned upside down. Her younger sister demonstrated a talent far better than hers, amazing all the higher UPS from the Tang family. They claimed that she was a genius that was rarely seen in 100 years. As such, her younger sister snatched the identity of the future family head from Tang Ruyan. Tang Ruyan had then transformed, from the future family head to a front impersonating the future family head. She was still regarded as the future family head in the records, and that was what the other forces believed. She had to participate as the future family head in some important public events to convince others that she was indeed whom the Tang family claimed her to be. As a result, she had been living in constant fear since young. She didn't know how many times she had to go through assassination attempts, ambushes, and surprise attacks. Those had been done by hitmen that other forces had sent over. But she had survived because she worked hard. Also, even though she was pretending, people were protecting her in secret as well. So, she was able to escape every time. However, her heart was forever scarred. She had once hated her life and she complained. But she would always remember her genius baby sister, the girl that would always stand in front of her, guard her, and protect her. Her baby sister would always be the first to give candy and other snacks to her. When other family elders would talk rudely to her or scold her, her baby sister was the first to jump out and defend her. When her parents scolded her, her baby sister was the first to comfort her. That big and brilliant smile would always be there with her, and it had dissolved all the hatred and anger inside her. She could no longer hate. She gradually accepted her new identity and worked even harder to fit into her role. She was going to be a very, very, very qualified front. That is, until that long time that they were parted from each other. "Sir, why are they so lifeless?" Her baby sister was taken to the killing cave that all the future family heads of the Tang family had to go to train. There, no one knew who each of them was. All that was kept in the cave were condemned prisoners. Only one of 1,000 would be able to survive. Once, Tang Ruyan had survived that trial. So did her baby sister. She had been the only survivor. But after that, the smile never came back to her baby sister's face. Even when they were together, the former would not speak a word, as if they were complete strangers. That went on. Since she had other assignments to do and other training to take, she and her baby sister would get together less and less. The last time they met, Tang Ruyan was 14. Her baby sister was 12. But her baby sister was much more powerful than she was. Her baby sister said something that she would never forget, "I know that you're a front, but you have to work hard. You'll give yourself away if you're always so weak, you know." With that said, her baby sister left. She took away all the warmth and care she once gave to Tang Ruyan. Tang Ruyan's heart began to freeze. Ever since then, Tang Ruyan had always been working hard and trying her best. Just like her baby sister said, she had to keep working to fulfill her function, as her father, her mother, and all the family elders hoped. To be a qualified pretender. Before her baby sister grew up, she had to filter all the potential dangers that came her way. This day. It was the day the mask would have to be abandoned. Tang Ruyan clenched her fists. Her fingers were poking her palms, but she felt nothing. "Baby sister. Am I a qualified front? Just the three of you. You don't want her?" Su Ping frowned. "I have been taking care of her for such a long time, and now you tell me that you don't want her?" Tang Mingqing knew that his answer would reveal the fact that Tang Ruyan was not the real deal. Anyways, he had to do it. If Su Ping were to ask for 5 ransom items, they would have said yes because they could give him garbage items. But Su Ping was still going to pick by himself. Of course, he would start with the best ones. They were unwilling to give up 5 good items. It wasn't worthwhile for a proxy. Also, while Tang Ruyan's cover had been blown, their actual future family head was growing up as well. She was still young, but she could already finish average titled battle pet warriors with ease. She could protect herself already. She will have matured at the moment she became able to survive a fight with titled battle pet warriors at the peak. By then, even when her identity was exposed, the other families would not be able to kill her so easily. "I trust that our future family head will look at the big picture," Tang Mingqing said, darting a warning look at Tang Ruyan at the same time. Tang Ruyan wiped away her tears and stopped her mind from wandering to the past. She gave him an affirmative look. Tang Mingqing was relieved. Su Ping was speechless. This was the first time he knew that a future family head could be given up. Were all the family heads of your Tang family this cheap? Or was Tang Ruyan so weak that the Tang family had always been wanting to choose another one? Su Ping looked at Tang Ruyan, confused. She was weak, but she could make a good future family head. What is the Tang family up to? Su Ping made another offer. "If 5 is too much, I can ask for less. How about 4? The 3 elders looked at each other, but eventually shook their heads. Even 4 items would be too expensive. Besides, since they had already said so, it was only a matter of time for Tang Ruyan's cover to be blown. She had lost her value and function. Even 4 items to get her back would be too much. 3. They shook their heads. 2. Shake, shake, shake. The girl had turned even paler. Not even 1. Su Ping pulled a long face. The 3 Tang family elders trembled in fear as they noticed the anger in Su Ping's voice. Tang Mingqing smiled obsequiously. "If it is all right with you, we can trade her with something else, like money or 9th rank battle pets. What do you think?" Finally, Su Ping realized what was strange about them. "She's not your real future family head, is she?" Su Ping asked. Tang Mingqing looked embarrassed. He summoned up enough courage and answered, "She's not." He had to admit the fact. Denial would not do because Xieganj and Venerable the Blade were there and they were no fools. They could already tell what was wrong. Tang Mingqing thought he might just as well admit it. 211 Su Ping didn't know what to say. What the hell? Turns out Tang Ruyan is a fake. She was a fake, but the Tang family had made such a big deal out of it. For those who weren't in the know, they would have believed that Tang Ruyan was the real future family head. "So, you're saying that her life is less valuable than yours?" "You can say so." Su Ping heaved a sigh at this answer. He looked at the girl who had turned colorless. He shook his head and said to Tang Mingqing, "Since she's not, it is your fault that I've taken the wrong girl. Now tell me, how are you going to make up for that?" "Hey?" The three Tang family elders were stunned still. They eyed Sui Ping in disbelief. What a mind-blowing accusation! Getting the wrong girl was our fault? What a stunning buck-passing move! But, Sui Ping was the one sitting down and they were the ones standing up. The ones sitting down had the right of speech, so they refrained from talking back. They were aware that Sui Ping was deliberately finding fault with them, but there was nothing they could do. "Please tell us what kind of compensation you want." Tang Mingqing produced a forced smile. "Since you were so unhappy about giving away treasures, I want 5, Sui Ping said casually. Tang Mingqing felt his face was twitching. He's not letting us off the hook easily, is he? They had to give the 5 treasures whether they wanted Tang Ruin back or not. Sui Ping was a bandit. Well, that would be 11 treasures in total. That is a lot, Tang Mingqing mumbled. Besides, according to Sui Ping's 3 demands, he already requested 3 pieces, and that would mean Sui Ping was asking the Tang family to provide 14 items in total. He was practically getting all the top-level treasures in the Tang family's collection. Of course, they could fake the information and hide away the authentic treasures. However, Sui Ping was not a fool. Also, he had pointed out that he had found out a lot about the Tan family from Tang Ruin. They believed that Sui Ping was aware of all the treasures in the collection and there would be no way for them to trick him. "I'll round it up. 10 pieces or none of you can get away." Sui Ping made a counter-offer directly. He wasn't in dire need of treasures. He was just teaching the Tang family a lesson. If they couldn't satisfy his demands, he would not mind killing the hostages. But, Tang Mingqing didn't know what to say to that unreasonable young man. A cold glint emerged in Sui Ping's eyes. Standing next to him, the little skeleton suddenly waved its blade and pointed at Tang Mingqing's forehead. The point of the blade left a scratch on his forehead and blood was oozing out. "Say yes or die," Sui Ping warned him. Tang Mingqing as well as the other 2 Tang family elders were pale with fright. Tang Mingqing answered with a trembling voice, I will say yes, but I don't know if our family head will agree to that." "Call him right now," Sui Ping requested. The little skeleton dashed back to where Sui Ping was and sat down on the couch beside him. Freed from impending death, Tang Mingqing noticed that cold sweat had soaked his back. He smiled apologetically and took out his phone at once. Soon, the call went through. Sir. Tang Mingqing found it hard to speak. What is going on? The man could clearly tell there was something wrong with Tang Mingqing's tone. Tang Mingqing darted a glance at Sui Ping before he gave an account of what had happened from beginning to end. When the man on the other side of the call heard that the Feather Army and the Tactic Army were eliminated and that there was a legendary battle pet warrior in the store, he could no longer remain calm. There was a noise of something being knocked over. A moment later, Tang Mingqing had finished the story. Silence was the reply. After an entire minute, finally, the man told Tang Mingqing to give the phone to Sui Ping. He wanted to negotiate with Sui Ping directly. Tang Mingqing delivered the message. He didn't have to do so, though, because everyone in the store had a good enough hearing to follow the conversation. "I just need an answer, he doesn't need to talk to me." "Ask him. Yes or no?" Sui Ping said. He was not in the mood to drag this along. Embarrassed, Tang Mingqing had to repeat Sui Ping's words. The man on the other side of the call could hear Sui Ping's voice. A moment of silence later, the man said yes. Tang Mingqing breathed in relief and so did the 2 elders standing next to him. They could not help but feel glad. He has said yes. Fine. Tell him to give me a list of your treasures and I must have it tomorrow. Of course. I will tell him. A few minutes later. All the details had been decided. The 3 Tang family elders were all detained in Sui Ping's store as hostages and they could only go back after the treasures were delivered to him. Without further ado, Suaping saw Venerable the blade out. As for Xieganj, he had to take off on his own. Suaping didn't keep any of the other family elders, except for the two from the Lu family. He told them to get someone there right away to clean up the street. All the mess on the street had to be cleaned up by the Lu family and all the destruction had to be repaired by them. The two elders of the Lu family accepted the task at once, hoping that by helping out, Suaping could be less angry at the Lu family as a whole. Only the two elders of the Lu family, the three from the Tang family, Tang Ruyan and Yan Binjiu, remained in Suaping's store. The two from the Lu family were waiting outside for people from their family to arrive and clean up both the street and the buildings. The three from the Tang family stayed inside and they did behave. Suaping was still sour-faced when he was with the three. He sent them to the test room and used that place as a temporary cell. After the three elders left, Tang Ruyan said to Suaping with a white and bloodless complexion, "Now, I am of no value. You can execute me now." Suaping cast a glance at her. "Why didn't you tell me you were a fake? I would have let you go." Tang Ruyan curled her lips. How could she have said that? Besides, she remembered that she did say so, but Suaping never bought it. He thought she was just trying to get away. "Never mind. Since you know you're worthless, then do your job well and create some value. Now that the Tang family doesn't want you, stay here and do odds and ends for me." Suaping shook his head and heaved a sigh. Tang Ruyan was surprised. "Are you not going to kill me?" Suaping was speechless. "Why would I? What? Am I a homicidal maniac? But, I am of no use to you." "Who said that? You can serve customers for me, can't you?" I, Tang Ruyan replied with silence. Serving customers? Given Suaping's wealth, he could have easily hired tens of thousands of people to work for him. He didn't need her. "You can stay here for the time being. Joanna may get too busy in the days to come. You can run some errands. When I find a suitable employee, you'll be free to go." Suaping chuckled. Tang Ruyan pressed her lips together. She couldn't describe her feelings. She took a deep breath and looked into Suaping's eyes. "If it's fine with you, I can work for you, permanently." Yan Binjiu was taken aback. The fact that Tang Ruyan was willing to stay there was beyond reason. But she could understand her. She was useless to her family. Her family wasn't even willing to trade her with one piece of treasure when one family elder was worth 3 pieces of treasures. It was insulting to measure a person's value with treasures. But she couldn't even compete with a single piece of treasure. Yan Binjiu felt she could comprehend Tang Ruyan's choice. "What?" Suaping looked at Tang Ruyan, who was evidently moved by his words. He raised his eyebrows. "You must have misunderstood me. You're not qualified enough to work for me now. I understand that you're upset, but don't get carried away by your wishful thinking. I'm already kind enough to let you work for me temporarily." "What?" Yan Binjiu was stunned still. So was Tang Ruyan. The warm feeling that had just filled her heart was shot down when reality taught her a lesson. She was so confused. Yan Binjiu gazed at Suaping. What kind of insensitive man was he? "All right now. If you don't have anything better to do, go out and help with the cleanup and keep an eye on the Lu family people," Suaping said. "Get in yourself." He opened the scroll. Yan Binjiu, under Suaping's gaze, she snuck back into the scroll. Tang Ruyan was still standing there in a daze. Suaping went into the pet room. The problems had been solved. It was time for him to consume the last material of the solar bulwark. Suaping sat down and opened the container. He typed in the password and with a click, the container opened. A beam of red light broke free from the container. Inside the container was the last material he needed for completing the first level of the solar bulwark, the fire crystal. There was a profound fire element on the fire crystal. The image of a ball made of burning flames was reflected in his eyes. Without further ado, and regardless of Joanna's presence, Suaping picked up the fire crystal. He poured astral powers over the fire crystal to consume it. The wisps of burning energy entered through his hands and then spread to his arms, neck, chest, and his entire body. The wisps of energy were like blood vessels that could be found all over his body. As the burning energy spread out, Suaping felt he was being cut open by a blade of fire. His fingers and every part of his body was breaking up. The pain was sharp enough to make him faint. But Suaping knew that once he allowed himself to pass out, the material would have been wasted. He bit his teeth to power through the pain. Following the method of the solar bulwark, he used astral powers to guide the burning energy to refine his body, to burn out the impurities and foreign matters in his body. Then, he stamped the energy on the cell walls, to form the bloodline stamp of the Golden Crows. Once the stamp came into being, he would be ushered into the entry level of the solar bulwark for real. By then, his body would be equal to an infantile gold crow. While Suaping immersed himself in making the bloodline stamp, Joanna opened her eyes again, and this time, she looked surprised. She was aware that Suaping was consuming the material he had been searching for. The effect of this consumption process had taken Joanna aback. She was sensing an aura that came from the distant past. Suaping's clothes had been burnt off, but he was unaware. The flames on his clothes were unable to hurt him. He was sitting on the ground with his legs crossed. On his body, some red lines were creeping out, entangling him like many tiny red vipers. The body part where most of the lines were gathering was his back. There seemed to be two flame spheres in the shape of two hands. What kind of cultivation method is that? As well informed as Joanna was, she marveled at the scene. As the burning energy around Suaping grew more and more powerful, that magnificent and ancient aura was becoming more profound as well, filling the entire room. In the other nursing pens, the customers' battle pets had all prostrated themselves before Suaping, all of them were trembling. Some were even having stress incontinence and some had passed out. Let the mapping begin. Integration. For the time being, Suaping had ignored the burning sensation. He focused his entire mind on the last step of the refinement. When the last wisp of burning energy had transformed into the final part of the stamp of the Golden Crow bloodline, Suaping opened his eyes. Two beams of glaring and intimidating red light surged from his eyes. His pupils had turned red as if tainted with blood. But inside the redness, there was a trace of golden color. That was a symbol of an ancient bloodline. An invisible, yet profound, and majestic aura radiated from Suaping. At this moment, his body seemed to have grown infinitely taller, making him an ancient god sitting at the center of the world. Joanna was appalled as she witnessed this from the nursing pen. She was very sensitive to what the god race was like. She was picking up a breath from Suaping, one who should belong to an ancient god race. It was a breath she had only felt from the superior gods in the demigod burial. Those superior gods were from the Archean divinity, and they had been in existence ever since the birth of the demigod burial. This feeling. There's something else, something like a supernatural evil spirit. Joanna's surprise was deepened. It was beyond reason and logic. Those supernatural evil spirits should be long gone. Why would it appear in Suaping? Suaping had come back to his senses. The majestic aura around him had faded away. The moment the integration of the bloodline was completed, Suaping felt a surge of information coming into his mind. That was the bloodline legacy. Suaping could see the images of the golden crows in those pieces of information. But the image was blurred. Suaping saw that countless golden crows were chasing after a glaring sun. The sunlight was offending to the eyes. With more and more golden crows flying toward the sun, the light of the sun was blotted. It was then that Suaping noticed that the thing giving out the light was not a sun, but an unbelievably long finger. The finger was shining in all its radiance. He could even see some fingerprints. Suaping was stunned speechless. He felt his blood was boiling. It was as if the recently assimilated Golden Crow bloodline was surging. The clips of memory vanished. But that finger had left a permanent mark on Suo Ping's consciousness. After a long while, Suo Ping's mind finally came back to reality. He could see the pet room again. Everything he had just seen just then was an illusion. He felt chilly all of a sudden. He lowered his head, only to see that his perfect and model-like body was completely exposed. Suo Ping turned around, only to see a pair of wide-open eyes. "What are you looking at?" Suo Ping shouted in terror. Joanna was pulled back to reality by his shout. She was enraged after seeing the fear in Suo Ping's face. She snorted, bit her teeth and turned her back to Suo Ping. "You have to make up for me," Suo Ping complained while he got some clothes out from his storage space to put on. "Joanna, piss off. You saw it all and you want to deny it. Off. Sure thing." Suo Ping got up, closed the container, and took it away with him. Suo Ping closed the door. He felt the smell of blood was over 10 times more pungent than before. Every time he took a breath in, he would get a feeling of blood pouring into his nose, which almost left him breathless. But soon enough, he had become used to it and even felt the smell of sweat. He took a look outside. The two elders of the Lu family were cleaning the street with a group of people while Tang Ruyan was standing by the door, pointing here and there like a leader, instructing the two Lu family elders. "Well, she sure is swaggering around." Suo Ping raised his eyebrows. Then, he noticed that he could see many red lines in Tang Ruyan and the two Lu family elders. Suo Ping took a closer look and the red lines stood out even more. "Are the red lines the blood vessels?" Suo Ping was surprised since he was able to see that. Besides, he noticed that every one of them was giving out faint, red steam. The steam around Tang Ruyan was thinner while that around the two Lu family elders were stronger. There was similar steam around the others who were cleaning the street. That had to be the effect of the entry-level solar bulwark. Sensitive to heat? But that is just relevant to body heat. I cannot tell a person's combat strength with this. This would be ineffective when it comes to cold-blooded animals. So, this enhanced vision is not all that useful. Wait a minute. While feeling sorry, Suo Ping noticed something. The heat signature changed just then, behind Tang Ruyan, around her bottom. Is she farting? Suo Ping was dumbfounded. Tang Ruyan was still bossing the two Lu family elders around as if nothing had happened. Suo Ping could not help but curl his lips. All of a sudden, he realized that the enhanced vision was actually of some use. At the very least, he could accurately identify the culprit in some elevators, when the air suddenly turned foul. It just so happened that someone would make a perfect sparring partner for him. Suo Ping shook his head at Tang Ruyan, who had just moved her bowl and then went to the test room. The three elders of the Tang family were in the test room. They could not open the door to leave without his permission. The three of them were whispering something when Suo Ping went in. The three of them stopped talking the second the door opened. Suo Ping darted a glance at them. He didn't even bother to ask what they had been chatting about. "Which one of you is the best with the glass bulwark?" he asked. The three of them looked at each other in confusion. Tang Mingqing worked up the courage and posed his question, "Mr. Su, what are you?" "Don't ask. Just tell me the answer." "That would be me. I think." "Is that so? Come on in and try it with me." Suo Ping walked over to the center of the room and waved at Tang Mingqing. Tang Mingqing thought that Suo Ping was going to him to ask for the skill's methodology. It never occurred to him that Suo Ping would want to exchange experience. Tang Mingqing had made a plan, since the skill was exclusive to the Tang family. He decided that if Suo Ping was trying to learn the skill, he would use some underhand ways to bury some traps in the skill so that Suo Ping would make mistakes when he learned it. There was a critical point in the method that could cause some serious injuries and even lead to fatal dangers if Suo Ping were to learn it in the right way, not to mention when some traps were set up. Tang Mingqing believed he could claim that Suo Ping was the one to be blamed for any accidents, and the method itself was not at fault. "Hurry up! What are you doing there? Sui Ping said grumpily. Tang Mingqing came back to his senses. He hurried to Sui Ping. Tang Mingqing looked around and said, "Here? Will it?" That was a practice round, not a real battle. Even so, both of them had titled rank strength. They could break down the room. Since the three of them had been staying in the room for a while already, they had sensed there was something strange about the room which appeared to be under the protection of a special seal. They didn't try to find out the strength of the seal, though, worried that they would break down the walls directly. That would be embarrassing. Your mission is simple. Use your glass bulwark and let me punch you. Sui Ping was not in the mood to do any more explanation. Tang Mingqing just eyed Sui Ping with confusion. So, he was a punchbag for Sui Ping? Okay. Tang Mingqing agreed. Punch back it is. He was eager to find out the actual strength of the young man. Phew. As a surge of astral powers rippled the air, Tang Mingqing's stooped body suddenly straightened up in a cracking sound. The old man with greyish hair appeared to be dozens of years younger, the wrinkles on his face were softened and his skinny body became strong. There was a faint, green hue around him and every pore in his body was lightening up in green. Sui Ping squinted his eyes. Tang Mingqing's glass bulwark was much more powerful than the one he had seen on Tang Ruin. Are you ready? No problem. Good. Sui Ping nodded and took a deep breath. A burning sensation gradually began to surge inside his chest, a strong power was gathered on his arm. Veins popped out. His arm grew in size and the skin had turned rosy. A glint of violence rose in Sui Ping's eyes which had turned a bit maroon. What? Tang Mingqing felt pressured all of a sudden. The other two elders standing by the edge of the room also noticed something was unusual. They stood up and gazed at Sui Ping, surprised and bewildered. Ready, said Sui Ping in a low voice. Tang Mingqing felt how his hair was standing on its roots. Astral powers burst out of him. He exerted his full strength, two spinning hexagon shields suddenly appeared in front of him. Roar! Sui Ping kept the bellow to himself as he punched out. Bang! With a sudden bursting noise, the air rippled and the effect was dispersed. Sui Ping's fist broke free from the hindrance in the air and moved toward Tang Mingqing even faster. The two astral shields broke apart and even the cracking sound was muffled by the sonic bang. With a boom, Tang Mingqing was smashed backward with terror still visible in his eyes. He smashed into the wall dozens of meters away. He spat out some blood as he slipped off from the wall like a piece of paper. The two elders were struck dumb with astonishment. They hurried over and helped Tang Mingqing up. There was a deep dent on Tang Mingqing's chest. The green glow was profound, but it was faint inside the dent. It was as if the punch would have dimmed down the light. Feeling the tearing pain, Tang Mingqing could not help but spit out more blood. Sui Ping was surprised to see that his strength had been elevated by quite a large margin. He didn't use the fist of exorcist. Rather, he had merely employed his physical strength. If he would have used the fist of exorcist, the effect would have been much greater. He would have killed Tang Mingqing with one punch. With the glass bulwark, Tang Mingqing's physical strength could compare to a beast at the peak of the 9th rank. That was to say, when Sui Ping used the fist of exorcist, he could punch a beast at the peak of the 9th rank to death. Coupled with the astral power enhancement, Sui Ping believed the upper limit of his punch was approaching the legendary rank. Of course, it would be the entry level of the legendary rank. Sui Ping had once heard from Joanna that the legendary rank covered a vast range. Some of the senior legendary rank battle pet warriors could easily kill those who had just reached the legendary rank. This is the true power of the solar bulwark. The first level has equipped me with such strength. Sui Ping was looking forward to finding out what kind of strength the second level would bring to him. But before that, he had to work hard to increase his rank. At the moment, he was at the intermediate position of the 6th rank and his astral powers are too weak. With the help of the star prism, he could temporarily increase his astral powers to the titled rank, but the effect was temporary. He believed that if he were at the titled rank, his strength would be 1 to 2 times stronger. By then, he could even kill beasts of the stone family and at the peak of the 9th rank. Sui Ping put down his hand and asked Tang Mingqing, who was making his way back as he walked over from the distance at the help of the other 2 Tang family elders, "Are you okay?" Tang Mingqing produced a forced smile. "The blood had yet to dry at the corner of my mouth. You tell me if I'm okay." "Yes, yes. I'm fine." Tang Mingqing smiled obsequiously. He could only keep the complaint to himself instead of saying it out loud. "Good." Sui Ping nodded. He left the test room at once without showing any concern for Tang Mingqing. Finally, Sui Ping is gone. The 3 Tang family elders looked at each other, angry and at the same time, afraid. As he stepped out of the test room, Sui Ping suddenly felt a burning sensation between his eyebrows. Some information popped into his mind. To his surprise, more dragon scale lands in the mysterious realm were being removed from their seals. The number of explored lands that were revealed to the public was not correct. In fact, merely over a dozen lands were left unexplored. Sui Ping noticed that more and more were being opened up. The entire mysterious realm would be opened up soon. 2 more lands, Sui Ping blinked. In the remaining 2 dragon scale lands, there were no beast kings, just beasts at the peak of the titled rank. The dragon scales lands that merely had the 4 beast kings guarding had all been explored. 2 of them had been opened up before and the other 2 opened up only recently. That was to say, some legendary battle pet warrior had been involved. Or, several battle pet warriors at the peak of the titled rank had joined hands and used some special top-level treasures. Those were the only ways for the beast kings to be taken care of. Sui Ping remembered the old legendary battle pet warrior he had in his store. Venerable the Blade and Lin Ziking arrived with that old man. Venerable the Blade had just left his store not long before, so he could not have helped. That was to say, the old man had gotten involved in person. That old guy must know something about that legend. I believe the last 2 dragon scale lands will be opened up at the same time. Sui Ping blinked. Up until then, he had not sensed anyone climbing the Dragon Bone Tower. Since the old man was aware of the secrets of the mysterious realm, it was likely that he would arrange for that person to go and climb the Dragon Bone Tower first, before all the lands opened up. Otherwise, he would be practically doing Sui Ping a favor. While Sui Ping was thinking, he sensed something in his mind. Speaking of the devil, someone stepped into the Dragon Bone Tower. Just then, he sensed he was about to be teleported away, but that strength disappeared. Did the teleportation fail? He could not believe this. He thought he could go there with a mere thought no matter where he was. All of a sudden, he realized something. He was still in the store's territory. That had to be something the Dragon King had failed to anticipate. He quickly walked out of the door. "Where are you going?" asked Tang Ruin in surprise, as she was commanding the 2 Lu family elders. Out of instinct, Sui Ping darted a look at her bottom. He cleared his throat. "I have some errands to run. Take care of the store with Joanna. Do not leave the store." Tang Ruin had no home to return to and the 3 Tang family elders were still there. Sui Ping was not worried that she would run away, so he didn't send her into the scroll this time. Tang Ruin raised her eyebrows but said nothing else other than, "Take care and hurry back." Sui Ping said yes and then stepped out of the store. He flew up to the sky across the street, an area not included in the store's domain. Teleport. The golden mark emerged between Sui Ping's eyebrows again. The next second, a beam of golden light covered him up. With a whooshing sound, he vanished on the spot. His disappearance stunned Tang Ruin speechless. The 2 Lu family elders and the rest of the Lu family members who had gone there to clean up the street were gazing with wide-open eyes as well. What was that about? Sui Ping opened his eyes. He found himself standing in an ancient and desolate land. In front of him was a huge dragon skeleton. It had once been the old Dragon King. No flesh remained over the bones. There seemed to be something inside the eye sockets that were gazing at him. This is the area above the 9th dragon bone. Suiping raised his eyebrows. He was not afraid of the dragon skeleton. But he was interested in the girl who was climbing up the dragon bones. While he was thinking, a bubble-like item jumped out in front of him. There was a projection on the item, showing the view of the tower. Some battle pet warriors were wearing black armor standing in front of the tower. Those were all advanced battle pet warriors, all of them exuded an intimidating aura. Standing in front of them were several titled battle pet warriors. By the door was someone Suiping was familiar with. It was the old man who had been defeated by Joanna. Suiping's expression became grave as he looked at the old man. Joanna could defeat this old man within one move, but he couldn't. The little skeleton had a combat strength of 16. Theoretically speaking, the little skeleton was able to kill those who had just reached the legendary rank. However, Suiping had yet to gain a clear idea about the old man's actual strength. Joanna was at the legendary rank, but his combat strength was at 29.6 and should have progressed to 30 by then. The legendary rank covered a wide range. Suiping suspected that the most powerful legendary battle pet warriors could have a combat strength of over 100. He based his speculation on the scoring system of legendary skills. If that were the case, then those at the peak of the legendary rank could be more than 10 times stronger than those at the entry level. The gap was even wider than that between battle pet warriors at the peak and the lower position of the titled rank. Battle pet warriors at the peak could kill those at the lower position, which also applied to the legendary rank. Suiping couldn't afford to underestimate the old man whom he had not fought against yet. In reality, he had but one life. He would not take the risk to fight the old man unless it was absolutely necessary. After all, on the off chance that the old man's combat strength was at 20, the little skeleton might not be able to stop him. Of course, there was another possibility, which was that the old man merely had a combat strength just a bit over 10. In that case, the little skeleton would easily subdue him. A 50-50 chance. The 5th bone already. Suiping squinted his eyes and gazed at the glow on the dragon bone tower. The 5th bone had lit up. Merely 1 to 2 minutes had passed since he sensed someone entering the dragon bone tower. The girl was surely climbing up without stopping for a moment. The 5th dragon bone was formidable enough to stop many talents. Reaching the 5th bone was hard even for Tang Ruyan. As for the 6th bone, Tang Ruyan would not pass it no matter how hard she tried. As Suiping was pondering, the 6th dragon bone was lit up. That was fast. The one at the first place on the Pioneers ranking could only reach the 6th dragon bone, and that record had just been broken. There had been no new names added to the Pioneers ranking recently. Therefore, that girl had not been included in the ranking since it was unrelated to the Dragon King. The listing was administered by the financial group that was secretly controlling the mysterious realm. They used the Dragon Bone Tower as a place to test one's strength. It was also a tool for them to attract talents from various places. Of course, the attracted talents at Tang Ruyan's level would merely function as scapegoats. The Tang family had only sent over Tang Ruyan, not their actual future family head. That was probably because the Tang family was aware of the secrets. Soon, the 7th dragon bone was lit up. Suiping looked at the time. Only 2 minutes had passed. The girl was as fast as he was back then. Surprised by the shocking speed, the people standing outside were conversing in a low voice. It is a pity that I can't see the inside clearly. How vexing! He tried it several times, but the strange bubble didn't change the view to the inside of the Dragon Bone Tower. He couldn't manipulate it. This might be a mechanism to protect the girl who was climbing the tower. After all, once this girl succeeded, she would become Suiping's competitor. Indeed, it wouldn't be fair if Suiping could see this girl fighting and climbing. Suiping had to be patient and at the same time, ready himself for the upcoming fight. He believed that after the girl climbed to the final bone, the remaining 2 dragon scale lands would be opened up. The old man's subordinates might have been already waiting at the seal of the remaining 2 dragon scale lands. When the challenge succeeded, the seals would be undone and the girl would gain the upper hand. Yuan Tianchen surely had the belief that this sudden move would catch Sui Ping off guard. So, the old man wasn't aware of the legacy mark's effect. Maybe the tower had already been heavily guarded to stop him from entering, that way the girl would be able to pocket the legacy to herself. The 8th dragon bone was lit up some time later. Sui Ping looked at the time. Still, 2 minutes. He was worried. The girl surely had saved up some strength. As the 8th dragon bone was lit up, the many people guarding outside the tower were becoming excited. Sui Ping squinted his eyes. The girl had made it to the 9th dragon bone. He could tell that she would finish at any time and stand in front of him. Time moved on, bit by bit. Soon, 5 minutes passed. All of a sudden, from the image projected on the bubble, he could see a beam of glaring golden light burst out from the 9th dragon bone. The 9th dragon bone had been lit up. She passed the test. Sui Ping looked to the left where the air was trembling. A slim figure walked out. She was wearing an azure armor for women and holding a sharp sword in her hand. She was panting and staggering. It seemed to be a girl of about 17 or 18 years of age. Sui Ping wasn't all that surprised. After all, the higher one's rank was, the more difficult the challenge would be. The Dragon Bone Tower had been established to test one's aptitude after all. He could faintly tell that the girl was also at the 6th rank, similar to his strength. As such, the girl could easily defeat battle pet warriors when she was at the 6th rank, and she could compare to a battle pet warrior at the upper position of the titled rank. If she were to participate in the Elite League, she could have had a chance at the Global Championship. Sui Ping sized up the girl. As the girl was trying to catch her breath, she suddenly realized something was off. She looked up and saw Sui Ping, who was standing not far from her. The surprised look froze on her face. Seeing her standing there in a daze, Sui Ping put on a solemn look and said in a low but awe-inspiring voice, "Art thou the human seeking my legacy?" When she was a kid, she had heard some interesting folklore of advanced creatures being fond of taking shapes of human beings and living in human society. A few seconds of confusion later, Yuan Linglu realized something. Surprised, she shouted, Are you the other challenger?" "No. I have been waiting for inheritors like you for tens of thousands of years here," Sui Ping kept a straight face to bamboozle her. Right then, from the Dragon King's skeleton burst out a beam of glaring golden light. A holy aura was emitted from the skeleton. Following that, a puff of smoke that was the Dragon King's soul slowly rose from the skeleton and looked down at the young man and the young lady. Sui Ping was frozen on the spot. Yuan Lingluo looked at the actual Dragon King's soul. How impressive and powerful it was! She remembered the other young man standing here. Alerted, she glared at him. "You must be the other challenger that my grandpa told me about. When did you get here?" She was on guard. Her grandpa had set up a tight encirclement outside the mysterious realm several days prior. He couldn't have snuck into the mysterious realm. The fact that the Dragon King's soul appeared so quickly and debunking him was unexpected. But Sui Ping didn't seem to be embarrassed at all. "By grandpa, you mean the old dude at the legendary rank standing out there, right?" He grinned. "You?" Yuan Lingluo glared at him and drew her sword. "You shall not insult my grandpa like this." "An insult? So, your grandpa is not the old dude at the legendary rank?" "You?" In a fit of rage, Yuan Lingluo was about to attack Sui Ping, but right then, the majestic Dragon King's soul roared. The soul breathed out a beam of golden light that enveloped Yuan Lingluo. Stunned, Yuan Lingluo realized that this might be the beginning of the legacy bestowal. Excited, she wondered if the Dragon King's soul had already chosen her because it could tell that she was talented. Sui Ping was taken aback. He thought there was going to be a contest between them. Why was the Dragon King's soul choosing her directly? But soon, So Ping noticed that the beam of golden light shrank into the girl's forehead, leaving behind an arc-shaped mark. It was just a mark. Phew! That was a good scare. So Ping patted his chest and breathed in relief. He noticed the dull look in the girl's eyes. Her mind was otherwise occupied. He remembered the vast and formidable view he had seen when he got the mark. He knew that the girl was defenseless at the moment. Kill her! Without reservation, So Ping sprang to action. Bang! He punched at the girl's face. But the punch didn't land on her face because a layer of golden hue had blocked the way. It turned out that the faint beam of golden light could become tangible and protect her. So Ping was surprised. Yuan Linglu opened her eyes. They made eye contact. So Ping cleared his throat, loosened his fist, and explained, "There was a grain of dust on your face." Yuan Linglu's face became clouded. She had heard from her grandpa that this person was sinister and dangerous, and her grandpa was not wrong. She was glad that the Dragon King's soul had protected her. Otherwise, his sneak attack would have been successful. From the mark she had just received, she understood the rules of the mysterious realm as well as how this person had entered the mysterious realm. The mark explained why no guards outside had noticed anything. She mobilized her astral powers and squinted her eyes. Since she was sure who So Ping was, she was no longer in the mood to hide her killing intent. She had to get the Dragon King's legacy. So Ping took a few steps back and summoned the little skeleton and the Inferno Dragon. While a fight between them was about to break out, they both felt a burning sensation on their foreheads. All the seals of the dragon scale lands had been undone. The last two lands had opened up simultaneously. The sudden change of events did surprise So Ping, but he didn't find it strange. Same as his speculation, the old dude at the legendary rank was controlling the last two dragon scale lands and he could open them up at any time. That legendary rank man must have given his order to undo the last two seals the moment the girl climbed up to the 9th dragon bone. That was to say, the contest to obtain the legacy had officially begun. However, So Ping didn't rush into action. The golden glow was still over the girl. Just then, he had exerted his full strength to use the Fist of Exorcist, and yet, he was unable to inflict any harm. That was to say, the Dragon King's soul had a power far superior to what he could imagine. The Dragon King must have been an entity above the legendary rank. From the information passed on to her from the mark, Yuan Linglu had realized that her grandpa had succeeded. She put on a grave expression. She had learned about the young man from her grandpa. There was a legendary rank battle pet warrior, a powerful one at that, supporting the young man. A person that not even her grandpa was able to defeat. The young man wasn't weak since he was being groomed by such a powerful legendary rank battle pet warrior. She couldn't afford to underestimate So Ping. While the two of them were getting ready for a fight, all of a sudden, they heard a loud call coming from their side. The magnificent Dragon King's soul suddenly shone in all its radiance as it flew to the sky and hovered around before it descended once again. The Dragon King's image shrank, but the golden glow was becoming even brighter. It was as if the Dragon King's soul had been cast out of pure gold. Eventually, the Dragon King's soul shrank to above a dozen meters tall. "You two are the inheritors that I have been expecting for hundreds of thousands of years here," said the Dragon King's soul in a solemn voice. So Ping raised his eyebrows and looked at the girl from the corner of his eye. "See? I even chose the right words and just used tens of thousands instead of hundreds of thousands." Yuan Luling darted a glance at So Ping as she heard the Dragon King's announcement. She was still on guard against him. "Thou hath passed the test and both are qualified for my legacy. Now, I will choose one of you with the final test." "Be prepared," said the Dragon King's soul. Yuan Linglu nodded. So Ping waited quietly. "There shall be 2 items in the final test to check your will and strength," the Dragon King's soul continued in a voice that was magnificent and resounding. The language was not one that So Ping or Yuan Linglu could understand. However, they could directly comprehend the meaning in their minds. As the Dragon King's soul's voice faded away, a beam of golden light swept across the surrounding areas. The desolated place was gone and so was the beam of golden light. Suiping and Yuan Linglu found themselves in a dark place with several dots of starry light visible around them. The Golden Dragon King's soul re-emerged before them. The first part of the test is to find out about your will. Please climb the steps that are the dragon bones. You shall be deemed to have passed the test if you can climb over the 10th bone. The Golden Dragon King's soul moved to the side and revealed a massive golden dragon skeleton behind it, which emerged from deep in the world of darkness. The glaring light from the skeleton was giving off a sense of grandeur. The skeleton meandered into the distance. There had to be over 1,000 dragon bones. Suiping and Yuan Linglu were surprised. They would pass the test if they could climb more than 10 dragon bones of that large skeleton. You shall not attack each other during the test. You may begin. The Dragon King's soul vanished as its voice faded away. In this emptiness, Suiping, Yuan Linglu, and the huge skeleton were the only present. Since the Dragon King's soul had announced the rules, Suiping had to put away his little skeleton and the Inferno Dragon. Yuan Linglu threw a glance at him and stepped on the skeleton first. She had never fought Suiping before, but his Inferno Dragon did worry her. That was a rare battle pet. While she stepped to the skeleton, she was wondering what she could do to defeat that dragon pet later. But she gave up all those messy thoughts as she stepped on the first dragon bone. Something overwhelming had assaulted her senses. She seemed to be able to see many devils and demons in front of the dragon bone. That was terrifying. However, that was not enough to freak her out. She calmed herself down and made up her mind. She was going to deal with it all, be it the demonic figures or the overwhelming pressure. She walked forward with determination. An awe-inspiring and exceptional aura oozed out from the slim girl. Within an instant, she had climbed up 5 dragon bones. She was halfway through the test already. At the 5th dragon bone, the overwhelming pressure had grown by several-fold. The demonic figures were becoming more substantial as she moved further into the world of darkness. She could see their bodies, and how the demons made threatening gestures to her. She could hear some whispers in a mysterious language. She couldn't tell the exact words being spoken, but the whispering was making her shudder with terror. Yuan Linglu worked up her courage. She was about to keep going when she thought of something. She looked around. To the left. No one was there. To the right. No one. Yuan Linglu was surprised. Where's the other guy? Right then, she noticed something from the corner of her eye. She looked to her left side, further ahead, only to be stunned. The young man had walked to the 7th dragon bone and was going toward the 8th one steadily. He was already ahead of her. Yuan Linglu pulled a long face. She no longer hid her strength. Powerful energy burst out of her and she pressed forward. Hoi! Hoi! She strode forward against the pressure induced by the overpowering energy and the many demonic figures. Soon, she had climbed up to the 8th dragon bone, catching up with Suiping. She took a deep breath. Keeping an eye on Suiping was no longer the priority. She had to beat him and arrive at the 10th dragon bone first. Roar! Right then, the many demonic figures transformed into vicious dragons that were roaring and lunging towards her. The pungent smell of blood in the air was enough to take one's breath away. The dragon's roars, which had a deterrent effect, froze her blood. It was as if over a dozen dragons at the titled rank were shouting at her simultaneously. Theoretically speaking, anyone below the titled rank would have passed out because of fear. But, Yuan Linglu was familiar with dragons, beasts that the general public could rarely see, because she had spent much of her childhood playing with her grandpa's dragons. Dragons' roars were not foreign to her. Despite the heavy burden on her psyche, she pressed forward. It was the 9th dragon bone. The vicious dragons became even more violent and the roars were even more offending to the ears. At the same time, some hands were pulling her from behind. The sleek and cold touch made her quake. She didn't know if that was a mere illusion or a real monster. There was something she did know. She could not stop. Come on! She drew her sword and cut the tentacles off from her. She shouted and wielded her sword at the vicious dragons as she advanced. Soon, she had made it to the 10th dragon bone. She was a bit relieved when she made it. She turned around, only to see that the young man had also reached the 10th dragon bone. What a surprise! Yuan Lingluo looked away from him. Since he could make it to the 10th dragon bone, she had to be better. The 11th dragon bone. It was as if a huge hand were pressing down her back. She mobilized astral powers, but still, she felt she was carrying several sandbags and could barely stand up straight. She bit her teeth and tried to summon her battle pets. But her calls received no answer. Space had been sealed. Yuan Lingluo was a bit scared. Soon, she realized the reason. The test was for her, and the Dragon King's soul must have set up the seals so that she couldn't rely on her battle pets. Such being the case, she would deal with the challenge all by herself then. She waved her sword and skillfully slashed the vicious dragons in front of her. Because of the pressure and burden, her moves were a bit off, but she still managed to do so with elegance and grace. Without that burden, she would have moved faster than the average 8th rank battle pet warriors. Her physical strength didn't match her rank. Number 12, no 13. She had climbed to the 15th dragon bone. PFF. Yuan Lingluo was about to step forward when the weakness in her knees brought her to the ground. The burden that could topple mountains and overturn seas made her feel that she was deep in the ocean. She could no longer breathe and her lungs were about to explode. She supported herself with the sword and breathed heavily. Some slimy and pitch-dark liquid closed in on her. There was a strong force that was yanking her, making it hard for her to move about. So tired. She was exhausted. This should be good enough, right? Yuan Lingluo looked back. To her surprise, no one was behind her. In a hurry, she turned to the front. To her dismay, the person was at the 18th dragon bone, 2 dragon bones away. How is that possible? Yuan Lingluo was about to have a mental breakdown. Along the way, there were the demonic figures and the vicious dragons. The physical pressure alone was enough to break a person. She felt she had reached her limit at this point. How could that young man make it further than her? Was he physically stronger than she was? Yuan Lingluo bit her teeth. Trembling, she forced herself up and worked up the strength to move on. 16th. 17th dragon bone. Yuan Lingluo shivered and fell to the ground. The last wisp of determination in her mind had faded away. She couldn't make it any further. She leaned against the dragon bone as she looked forward, only to see that the young man was still moving on steadily, further and further away. He had reached the 22nd dragon bone. Silence. Yuan Lingluo was aware that she had lost to him at this test. A complete defeat. He was so far away that she wasn't in the mood to catch up with him. He was 5 dragon bones away. The level of burden on that dragon bone was enough to crush her. She was at her limit, in her mind, and in her body. Well? She's not catching up? Sui Ping was stunned, he could no longer hear any noises behind him. He turned around and saw that the girl was sitting down on the dragon bone. She must have stopped there, trying to adjust her breath. He thought Yuan Lingluo was recovering to get ready for the next test. Sui Ping raised his eyebrows. He darted a glance ahead. There were over 1,000 dragon bones in total. I wonder how far I can go. Sui Ping was curious and eager to experiment. He thought he could rely on the little skeleton when it came to the test on physical strength. Or, he could try it a bit further and save some energy until he was close to reach his limit. Keep moving. Sui Ping stepped forward. 23, 24, 25. As he kept going, countless violent dragons were shouting at him. Some came out from the darkness outside the skeleton as if they were born out of the void. Behind him were gruesome whispers and callings. Nothing else? Suaping's mind was not disturbed in the slightest. When he reached the 30th dragon bone, Suaping was seeing an ocean of blood and a mountain of corpses, from which many skeletons and dead bodies were emerging. Some freaky figures appeared, all of them had a ghastly look. Suaping tilted his head and admired the view for a bit before he went on. He could tell that the burden on his body was growing stronger, but the views and illusions were unable to scare him in the slightest. After all, he had witnessed things more frightening than this. In the chaotic realm of the undead, which was a world of ghosts and skeletons, the strange and uncanny occurrences were commonplace. That was a world of no living creatures, a grey, twisted world. Compared to that place, those illusions were lacking in creativity. The physical burden was the thing that made him slow down. Suaping wasn't sure if the burden was real or just imagined after all. The Dragon King's soul mentioned that this was a test to gauge their will. Such being the case, it shouldn't have much to do with his physical strength. He could tell the burden was most likely imagined. For instance, when a person's finger was burnt by fire, hypothetically, that fire had no temperature, the person's brain would still raise an alert that something was hot and that the finger should be moved away. The test was far more complicated than illusions. It could reconstruct a person's cognition. To put it simply, while he knew those were illusions, he had reached a certain point where he would actually perceive physical pain and believe that everything he saw was real. Making yourself believe that those were illusions and then ignore them was not enough to make sure he could keep going. The infiltration of those things had convinced his body that the pain was as real as it could get. Suaping could also feel something yanking and pulling him from behind, but the force was not strong, he could easily break free. That was not because he was physically strong, it was all due to his strong will. The stronger his willpower was, the lesser the infiltration would be, and as such, he would not be so affected by the illusions.